do. And I'm sorry. It won't stop.
Hello man things, welcome back to the channel. Do I look convincingly dead or just convincingly wet? I am very wet, like to the point where I am physically trembling because I am freezing cold. So you know what, I'm starting to actually kind of sympathize with the character I'm going to be talking about today. What's that saying about don't talk shit unless you've walked a mile in the dead girl's shoes? Pretty sure that's how it goes. Guess what? It's extremely uncomfortable. This is what I do for you man things, okay? This is for you. I look like I could have spent a few days in a well, rotting away, right? This is a very random video, not really sparked by anything except my very intense love-hate relationship with the movie The Ring. I saw it in theaters as a child, so that explains at least one thing. Ever since I saw it in theaters, I've just been sort of captivated by the whole idea, and I know I'm not alone. It's one of the most successful horror movies ever made, and it is one of my personal favorites. However, I do have some bugaboos, nitpicks about it, and I have organized them into a numbered list, Jenny Nicholson style, specifically into 7 things that get in my head about The Ring that bother me. Do you see what I did there? It's a list of 7 things. Number 1, Rachel being a shitty mother. Rachel is portrayed as this sort of self-sacrificial, altruistic, very motherly, caring, compassionate person, which part of that is true. That's the whole reason that Samara takes over Aiden's body in the second movie. Spoiler alert. Like, the whole reason that Samara wants to be in Aiden's body is so that she can have a mom, and that mom is Rachel. But it's like, why would you want that? Rachel is the worst mom ever. There's one scene in the first movie where Rachel is sitting in bed and she's mulling over the whole videotape situation and like trying to put the pieces together. That's great. And Aiden, who is like freaking 10 years old, shouts from the other room, "Hey mom, I'm going to school." And Rachel doesn't even blink. She doesn't even lift her head. And it's clear when they show a shot of Aiden that he has made his own lunch and packed his own backpack and is like basically parenting himself.
Go to your room! Now!
Okay, you know what? You're in timeout! Get on top of the fridge! Get up there! This house is a fucking nightmare!
This number 2 is fittingly a gripe that I have about the sequel. Why do they have a mother flippin' TV? Rachel and Aiden move to a new home, or they've moved to a new home. They're out of the apartment and into an actual house. And in the living room, they have a giant TV.
And she'll keep coming till she finds one.
Come on, come back. Get away from her. Rachel, get away from her.
You can't have my son. So take me.
Rachel, no!
imagine that a year ago, you had personally been victim of Regina George. You had personally been the victim of a vengeful spirit of a little girl who crawls out of a well and then crawls out of the TV and kills you. Naturally, you want to make a fresh start. Once you think you've got it all figured out, all solved, and you're safe, you want to move someplace new. I totally get that. So you move to a house, upgrade from an apartment. And what do you put in that house? A giant TV?
What? What the fuck?
I'm sorry, what? Why do they have a TV? Why do they have a TV? Like, would you even be able to enjoy watching normal TV anymore after everything you'd experienced? I wouldn't. I'd be right in the middle of the fucking Masked Singer just waiting for them to pop off the head and it'd be this bitch. Oh my God. I just got a very interesting text message. Number 3. Why does everybody know the exact time and date to, like, the millisecond of when they watched the tape? It makes sense for some people. It makes sense for Katie to know the general time of when she watched it because she was on, like, an actual trip that she would remember.
You were with Josh all
Some of his
weekend?
friends got this place up in the mountains. They were trying to record a football game. I guess the reception was so bad.
What are you talking about?
Listen to me. When we played the tape, the game wasn't there. It was...
What? What was it?
It was something else.
There are some people that are like, oh my God, I only have 1 minute and 45 seconds left. It's like, how would you know that?
Play it. Just play the thing. Come on, I got 2 minutes here, please.
You didn't know when you first watched the tape that you were only going to have 7 days to live afterward, right? Like, that's what makes the tape scary. It can just be something you watch and you have no idea what you're getting yourself into. Why does everybody know the exact time and date that they watched it? There's no reason they should know that. Why do they know that? Number 4, how did Katie and her friend know about the tape? Is it like an urban legend?
I got a better one. Have you heard about this videotape that kills you when you watch it?
What kind of tape?
A tape. A regular tape. People run it, I don't know. You start to play it, and it's like somebody's nightmare. Then suddenly, this woman comes on, smiling at you, right? Seeing you through the screen. And as soon as it's over, your phone rings. Someone knows you've watched it. And what they say is, you will die in 7 days.
Don't you get that vibe from when they're talking in the beginning of the movie? It's like it's an urban legend. But then for the rest of the movie, absolutely no one has ever heard of it. No one knows what's going on. And I just am confused as to how both Katie and her friend knew about this tape that kills you when you watch it, like as if it's already been happening to other people and somehow word has gotten around to both of them separately. Because then Katie responds,
I've watched it.
It's a story, Katie.
No, me and Josh, we saw it last weekend.
how does she know that the tape she watched last week at the cabin was the cursed tape? Like, how do they have this information? Okay, number 5. I've heard people say that the Ring franchise is supposed to be a hot, not so hot take on media bad, media rots brains, media kills people, media makes people into robots. Katie and her friend they have this whole discussion that's, I think, supposed to be sort of a covert theme of the movie about how quite literally TVs are killing people in the sense that they are making them sort of numb. And it's kind of like a Fahrenheit 451 situation.
You can pick something, I don't care.
Do you have any idea how many electro rays are traveling through our head every second?
I guess that kind of tracks, kind of. In order for that to be a solid theme, it would also have to be the case that the videotape itself is really disturbing and you hate watching it, and yet you can't look away from it. You do get that from a few of the characters, like Rachel especially. When she first watches it, you can see on her face she hates what she's watching and she almost looks away, but then she just looks back. You know, it's the normal human morbid curiosity things, why traffic slows down when there's a car wreck. Like, you can't look away. But some people do look away. The girl in the beginning of the second movie, she plays the tape, but doesn't watch it. She says when the guy comes back in, the guy who knows the exact time and date when he first watched the video, the guy comes back in and she's like, I played the tape, I just didn't look.
Emily! Emily, what the hell did you do?
I played it, I just didn't look. How could this happen to me?
So doesn't that kind of kill the theme of we're all just mindlessly taking in this brain-numbing content if it's very clear that the characters do have the will to not watch it? I don't know. Number 6, we are not talking about Rings. Rings is not canon. And finally, number 7. A big complaint that I've seen about this movie is that nothing Rachel and Noah did to solve the mystery of how Samara died ends up mattering. They have solved the mystery of what happened to Samara. They tracked down her dad. They tracked down her birthplace. They tracked down her mom's history of mental illness, and they tracked down her literal burial place. Not burial place. They tracked down the well. Rachel goes inside the well and attempts to give Samara this sort of like ceremonial proper burial. And so people complain that after all of that, it was all fruitless and futile and kind of meaningless because Rachel wakes up the next day thinking that, oh, I'm alive because I solved the mystery and gave Samara a proper burial or whatever. But actually, she's only alive because she made a copy of the tape and Aiden watched it. It's more like the movie was sort of leading you on and then it just cuts it all off. It's sort of the same complaint as when something is revealed to have all been a dream or have all been just a vision, and you're like, okay, so what was the point of me watching the last hour and a half if it was all just a dream? It's that same kind of approach. And I understand this criticism, I do. My response, though, is that The Ring is adapted from Ringu, Japanese horror film. Samara is an onryo, which is a vengeful spirit, usually female, who has died in a really gruesome, awful way, basically just like out for blood as a spirit because the way she died was so horrific. The key to what makes them so terrifying is that there's really nothing you can do to escape them. Like, if you think about The Grudge, the instant you walk into the house, you're screwed. There's nothing you can do. No amount of detective work or whatever ceremonial bullshit. You are screwed the second you step foot in the house. Once you're in the spider's web, That's it. And it's not really an American idea. I think that's why it puts people off a little bit, because a lot of American horror likes to have the characters get to the root of what's going on, fix it, and then it's fixed. That's not really how Japanese horror works, which, like I said, is part of what makes Japanese horror so scary, because it's like, once you're in, you're in. I think that it is to the movie's benefit that Rachel and Noah solve the mystery and go through all that and think that they're safe, but turns out they're not. I will leave you with one more not so hot take, I don't think, but it's just something that I really enjoy. My favorite line in almost any movie ever, I would say, Samara's doing her little creepy crawly up the well.
Bitch.
To get to Rachel. Rachel barely makes it out in time. Right before she shuts the top of the well, she says, "Mommy!
I'm not your fucking mommy."
I love it. I love it. I loved it the day I saw it in theaters, and I love it now, and you can't change my mind because I'm Samara and I'm set in my ways. Look, some of us just celebrate Christmas differently, okay? Most people drink hot cocoa, wrap presents, spend time with loved ones by a roaring fire. I put on a black wig and get in the shower and rub black body paint all over myself to make it look like I've been decaying in a well for 7 days. It's just, personal preference, really. All right, man things. Thank you so much for watching. I love y'all so much. If you enjoyed this video, you might consider liking or subscribing. Thanks so much for watching. I will see you in the next one.